I love platformers, and thus in my search for solid platformers on the Nintendo Switch, I ran into an interesting game that goes by the name of Toby, the Secret Mine. This game does not joke around. It is hard, it is tough, it is brutal, and surprisingly very short. This game can be bested in about 2 to 3 hours, and maybe a little less than that if you know what you're doing. In essence, it is a 2D platformer in a similar style as Rayman Legends, one of my absolute favorite platformers ever and a must-play on the Nintendo Switch. Link to the free demo down below. The kind of floaty, slow jumps, the reveals of secret places in the levels, the rescuing of, well, Tobies, I guess? And the everlasting chase of your evil nemesis are well-tested gameplay elements that, left on their own, make up for a pretty solid game. Add to this a strong graphical presence, which, to be honest, was the first thing which drew me to this game, and decent enough soundtrack and some bone-shattering sound effects push the game towards something quite promising. Some of these levels are absolutely gorgeously designed in their minimalistic silhouette style, with brightly lit snow-covered landscapes, grim abandoned fields, lush green forests, fiery pits, and anything in between. As much as this game is about platforming, figuring out your next move along the path, going forward or backtracking your way, I urge you to just stare at your screen for some time, taking in the scenic beauty. Toby's true catch though is its absolutely unforgiving platforming. Seriously, I would like to meet the person who can finish this game without ever having tested the game first.
Challenge accept. Wait, what's the challenge?
Without dying a single time.
Challenge accepted.
I'd even settle for meeting the person who can complete the game in under 10 or 20 deaths, developer included. The Grim Reaper is not just around the next corner, waiting patiently, eagerly, to snatch your little precious life away. No, he is squarely lurking in your shadow and will hit you out of nowhere if you let him. Sure, I'm a game reviewer and I test the game's limits, search for flaws and shortcuts, and as a result I died 200 deaths in my first playthrough. But don't be surprised to see your count equal half of that, with a good dose of frustration on the side. This is not a crowd pleaser. In testing this game, I did come across at least one issue I have in the camera controls. The way the camera pulls back to the player after respawning can be quite nauseating when you're popping up again anywhere towards the end of the level. And the thing is that while the camera is still blacked out, you can already move about, which unsurprisingly caused many a death in my case. I'd rather see the player's movements frozen until the camera is centered on the player and the player is fully visible. Another thing I would have liked to see is a little backdrop to the story. Where Rayman offered at least the promise of said story, Toby is quite bare bones, and in that respect pretty much remains cohesive with the overall style of the game, to much praise of the developer. It would certainly have been all the more interesting to have been able to play this game with a friend, either in co-op or versus mode, but for a single player experience, it's a pretty good game. A thing that I'm sure would take plenty a gamer by surprise are the actual puzzle challenges, other than the sheer navigation around the levels. At various strategic points, the player is required to find the solution to some original puzzles, which can be quite a hassle to figure out. Once the dust has settled and your nemesis admits defeat, spoiler alert, you're given two options, which will prove your character. A fun little fork in the road that, other than an aftertaste, unfortunately doesn't add much to the game. I was hoping for some additional gameplay depending on your final choice, but alas. Regardless, Toby, the Secret Mine, as said, is a good game, that will put your skills to the test. At just about $10 it is quite a steal, and I recommend getting this game if unforgiving puzzle platforming is your thing. I was fortunate enough that the publisher Headup Games sent me over this review copy for you guys to check out, and you would do well to keep an eye on them as they're making their presence felt on the Nintendo Switch with other titles like The Inner World and The Inner World The Last Wig Monk, both of which look awesome, and I will be reviewing them soon right here on the channel. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about Toby, if you played through it or are planning on doing so. Like and share the video if you will, and I will see you next time.